Okay, now we have come to one very fascinating point as well. It's the time for the CEO for D&I movement. So we're going to introduce you to the program and its participants and see how they are becoming role models and change makers for D&I. And who better to present this than the founder of Mitt Liv herself, Sofia Appelgren, and Claire Carlson, head of D&I strategy and research. Welcome.
All right. Wow. Whoa. What a morning. This has been amazing. All right. So we've heard quite a lot about how it's really important to push D&I from being a corporate social responsibility or HR agenda question up to the executive management level group. And that's exactly why we launched this program in 2001. And the aim of the program is that 100% of CEOs and owners hold themselves accountable for increasing inclusion in the labour market. And that together, through common commitments and goals, that they inspire more people to do more.
And by inviting 6 to 8 CEOs yearly to work on a common commitment, we set off with the first group 2021. You met them all at last year's symposium, and we are here now today to hear about the results. So we would love to welcome the group who represents the whole group today, Berntsson, CEO for Deloitte Sweden. Welcome. We have Pernilla Bonde, CEO for HSB, represented by Laurence Howard, HR manager. Welcome. We have Dackeskog, CEO for Duni Group. Welcome on stage. We have Simone Margulies, CEO for Hemköp and Tempo. Warm welcome. And we have Thomas Ekman, CEO for Dustin Group, represented by Martin Lindekrantz online, we hope, Head of Sustainability and HR. Are you with us?
Hello.
Hey, great to hear you.
Yay.
Yay, there you are.
We see him there, and he sees us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here we are. Let's start off with the joint commitments that you signed under for. You have them here. It was a 6 joint action program, and it was very bold, very ambitious, and we're so curious now to hear about this even more. Mm-hmm. So let's start off with the first. That was about having a diverse and inclusion strategy in place during this year. Can you raise a hand who has this in place? You do. Check on that one. And Simone, let's hear some insights. How has it been to do this work? And
yeah, we started off by gathering our top 32 management team in May this year, or last year, to discuss and align behind our purpose and also the goals, but also discussing the thresholds. What are the difficulties? And then actually we took like a break in our in our strategy work, and instead we started to act, to do different things and to get learnings. So we, for instance, we started by looking over our recruitment processes and to see why are we recruiting outside our recruitment process. We also started to measure diversity and inclusion. We also look over our succession process because we think that is important to grow the leaders from below. We also started a collaboration with Mångfaldsbyrån, where we now have 8 employees in our stores that is newcomers to Sweden. Mm. We also now just started a collaboration in Mörby, where we have one employee, a workplace practice with a person who's deaf. Mm. And so on. And now, actually, this year, we will collect the learnings and try to gather it to a strategy aligned with our ordinary strategy.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you. Super, and really good that you're aligning it into the actual regular business strategy as well. Brilliant. Thank you. Let's go on to the next point, which has to do with measuring diversity and inclusion. And this has been highly discussed over the past year or two, both because it's critical to follow the results, but also it's quite tricky, if we're honest with ourselves as well. Let's go over to you, Martin, and over at the Dustin group, and hear how you've been going on for measuring diversity and inclusion this year.
Yeah, and we were already measuring, actually, and we had done a job, I would say, clarifying the D&I KPIs and targets. And what we had been working on was to incorporate these in our business reviews, trying to tie them to financial KPIs. That's not easy, but we had been doing that. So what we've been focusing on the last year has been to expand the areas. We were focusing a lot on gender balance before and also on international background. We added age as a KPI and as a target. We said at least 10% of our workforce we should have in each age bracket of 10 years. And then what I think is maybe the most important addition that we made was that we added inclusion as a KPI and as a target. So we started to measure inclusion. I would say we set quite a bold target to be the most inclusive employer in our industry, and also with the ambition to establish some sort of a market practice for how to measure inclusion. So we started to ask our colleagues around inclusion in 2 dimensions, both a sense of belonging and uniqueness. And then we created an index, and we did that in April the first time last year, and so now it's time for the second round. So it'll be really interesting to see how we've developed over the last year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. And that's something also that you're benchmarking against the rest of the Axel Johnson group as well, who have a similar survey out. So yeah, really interesting.
We have really good help from each other there. Yeah.
So we have a third action point about inclusive recruitment processes, and an area with operational process that actually can have a huge impact on the development of diversity and inclusion in many ways. So Laurence, could you share a little bit how it's been for Pernilla and HSB?
Yeah, thank you. We work with the inclusive recruitment through 3 angles, actually. The first one is through structure. The recruitment system that we use, you can make all the personal data anonymized, and you can blur out pictures and all that. And you can add on experience and personality tests to get the most qualified candidates to look at first, to avoid the biases that we all got. And secondly, we looked at attraction, how to make the ads, the advertising ads, more gender neutral, and that we minimize requirements that mostly connected to being Swedish. And the most important part, the third one, is knowledge and understanding. And we discussed how important it is to work with diversity and inclusion. We had some programs as well, and we're going to do some more this year.
Really good. And that's very much in line as well with some of the recent research we've been doing together with Laurence, who actually was on stage earlier. And one of the key points there of moving the mindset into an inclusive mindset, and not just including diverse talent, but hiring diverse talent. So let's have a look at point 4 then, which has to do with inclusive leadership. And we know that the inclusive behaviors of leaders really impacts the inclusive experience of employees. And Robert, at Duni, you've taken a pretty firm stance on this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you've been working with this?
Yep, I can do that. Yeah, I think we started to actually set up a diversity inclusion board in Duni. We call it Duni Inclusion Board. Great name. And I think this board, of course, looked at all a better way to structure how we work with the whole D&I question in a way, and across all these questions. But one part, of course, is training and how to get it out and so on. And I think for us, we call it leadership program, and then focusing on D&Y, and it should be part of the normal day in a way, and part of the leadership program. And leadership is really important here, the word leadership. So that's the key in all the trainings we do. And we have an aim now, we have set it up, and starting now so the aim is to have 50% of all leaders in this program for 23 and 100% then 24. So that's what we're doing now. So I think it feels really good. Yeah. And I think I have to say this Duni Inclusion Board, that's a tip maybe. I think we got people who signed up for the board from all different countries, different parts of the organization. And I think it's back to what's been discussed. It has to come from the individual as well. That's really important. It's not from me. Yeah. So it's really important bottom up and top down, of course. Someone has to stand there, of course, and point a little bit and walk the talk. But it has to come from the individual. I think that's key. Because then you get attraction in the organization.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Yeah. Is there anybody else who would like to add anything with regards to the inclusive leadership as well?
Nope.
It sounded good.
It feels good. Yeah.
Feels good. Okay, good. Yeah, let's move on to the next point. So many have been very curious about this job program, introduced job program for foreign-born individuals, and how's that been, and why has that been important for you, Jan, and what results do you see that? Did you find any new talents and competences?
Yeah, so first thank you to you, Sofia, and Mitt Liv for actually arranging and forming the CEO network and the program. We have learned so much from that and really sort of evolved our thinking about diversity and inclusion, so really big thank you for that. When it comes to recruiting and an internship program, we formed an internship program, and I would say it was primarily because we have in our purpose to make an impact that matters for society, and we wanted to be part of the solution of the integration issues that we have in Sweden. Actually being a mentor myself, meeting a lot of the mentees that were really qualified, they had good experience, but they didn't even get to an interview. We felt that we should do something, and the internship program was sort of part of that solution. So we worked together with Mitt Liv. We had, I think, 200 that applied for these positions. In the end, we took on 4 interns. It has worked out really well. We believe that as a big company, that is something that we all actually could do to help in the integration issue. So that's sort of the background. Then I would say that having done this, we continuously learn a lot from this. And here we have learned to recruit from a talent pool that we'd probably not have focused on before. So there is a lot of positive things around this. Yeah.
Has there been any challenges as you see it?
I would say that we haven't had any challenges with interns, and of course there has been in certain parts of our business a little push to actually open up for having interns. To always take on people that you maybe don't need. People need to have some kind that supervise them and manage them and so on. But in general, I think that has worked very well, and people have been very open to doing that.
And it means so much as well. We've spoken with both the applicants, so the 200 that applied, and the candidates that got the positions. And all of them have really felt seen through the process. And those of them that are in Deloitte now are really appreciative for it. So, all right, let's move to the final point on the program plan, which was inspiring more CEOs to do more. And we know that we've got more CEOs in the room. We know that we've got CEOs connecting in and listening as well. Let's go around the group and hear a little bit. What have you been doing, and what tips would you give to the CEOs who are maybe at the beginning of their journey or wanting to kind of like take the next step in the journey? Simone, would you like to start? Oh, take a mic.
Sorry. Yeah, I can start, because actually this is the point that I haven't done so much in.
Okay.
I try to inspire colleagues to go this program, but actually I focused on the 5 other points, actually.
You're inspiring people being here today. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I talk a lot about is the mentorship. I think I've been a mentor now a few times, and it's fantastic. I still have contact and still continuing actually with the persons, and that is one thing I talk a lot about with other people. So I think the connection to do the CEO program and being a mentor is fantastic. That have given me a lot. So that's a good tip. Yep.
Yeah. Great.
HSB is a federation, so we've got quite a few CEOs in HSB. And a few weeks ago, we had a great bigger conference in 2 days. And the first day, we had diversity inclusion on the theme. So we had 4 different speakers. Per Beck was one of them, and a few others, and they gave their different kind of view of the problem, which were really making a big difference for all the CEOs. So there was a great discussion afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, at Deloitte we're good at solving problems, and I think this is a big problem, and we really want to be part of the solution here. And I must say that in every meeting that I go, I more or less talk about this. When I meet politicians, when I meet CEOs and other, I think it's such an important topic that we need to sort of move forward in Sweden.
Yeah, great. And over to you, Martin.
Yeah, I would like to say, Thomas, he takes this task really seriously. I mean, he's busy. He's in podcasts, in networks. He gives presentations. So I'm not too sad actually that he had to prioritize something else today, because this gives me a chance also to be really funny. But I would say, I mean, he's a really pragmatic person. His response would probably be, we are beyond the point where we discuss the business case or the value of this. It's easy. Just make room for it. You won't regret it. I think that's what he would say.
Brilliant. Thanks. And I think there's many of us then who are wondering a really pressing question. What results are we seeing from the work that you've been doing so far? You've given us some insights, but can you give us some really concrete results of what's happened during the last 12 months?
Yes, for us, of course, the results is the employees that we have in our collaborations, but also the measurements is really a good way for us to see how to measure the goals. And we just got the first starting point. There we're moving from there. And the biggest result for us is actually to create the energy in our management team and also the store managers, because this is not, we heard before, this is one thing that is put on top of our normally agendas that are already full, which means it requires a lot of energy and engagement. And actually, Lotta, who is the HR director at Hemköp and Tempo, she's doing a great job here, and also together with the store managers. And our next step is actually to engage also our franchise owners, which is, they are CEOs, but in another way. Yeah.
Yeah, we can continue.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's great we have started measuring and those kind of things. We get it into the recruitment, and I think it's not an easy thing, but I think what I'm most proud of is that we actually got it into the normal discussions. It's part of the meetings, it's part of the discussions, everything we do. I think we have a long way to go, but we're really getting there. I think that has been a really good progress in the past year and 2 years maybe.
Yeah. I think we all start from different levels, and we're doing progress every day. And the issue is is a topic that we talk a lot about every day. Not every day, but I've done the measurements and we discussed this. We know that we can do it better the next time, and so we've learned a lot. And it's really an issue that we talk a lot about.
Yeah.
Much more than the last year. I know. The year before Pernilla was here.
Yeah, I would say that we are on a learning journey. I think sometimes it's more about actually doing the right thing and being able to measure it. And I think that, I mean, we measure inclusion, we see very good results. But I think at least we are humble. We believe we have so much more to do anyway, even if we have very good results from that perspective. So it's really about doing the right things. Then that will have a positive impact on in many dimensions.
Yeah. And Martin?
Yeah, I would say maybe the most obvious one is that the attention to the topic, it sparks engagement very clearly. So people come forward and they want to contribute. And I have a very concrete example of a grassroots initiative that was directly connected to the inclusive employeeship training that you gave, Claire, to our employees. And we had a group of people that came together as a result of that, and they started a power group of inclusion, representing different underrepresented groups. And we really try to empower them to take concrete action.
Yeah. Which is great to also then include more voices within the organisation, of course, and get in those perspectives. What would you, if we're going to wrap up, what would you say would be your next steps? You know, we're here on stage, we're delivering and saying what have we done this year, but the journey doesn't finish here. So what's the next key step, would you say? Jan, I'll send that one to you.
Yeah, I think I said my recommendation last year to the CEO, that was to actually do this. And I think sometimes these topics, they become too complicated. But I think sort of the actions we had last year and proposed and that we have done this year, I think every company can do that. And I think for us, it's continued to move and develop these areas that we have started to work. Maybe not start 10 new initiatives, but really sort of focus on these 6 and continue doing that well.
Yeah. Thank you. Robert? Would you like
Yeah, a little bit the same. I think now it's time to take the next step in what we actually said here and start delivering on that. So I think, focus, yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Thank you. And Simone?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Since we took the other way around, instead of doing the strategy, we started doing things. So our next step is to wrap up and see what initiatives are to scale up, where do we have to do more, and where are we to scale down. Yeah.
Thank you.
And actually do the strategy.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
It does.
What role models? A warm applause. Thank you.
Yeah, actually,